The kingdom of God is like a vineyard, and your life is a vineyard. Your life is not your own. You're kind of the tenant of the wonderful, beautiful life the Lord has given you. Who here loves vineyards? A few of you, many of you. Have you ever driven through Europe from country to country and seen the beautiful vineyards of Italy and France and Spain and Portugal and Croatia? Wonderful little paradises, and other parts of the world, Argentina and Niagara, wherever else. And the beautiful thing about a vineyard, they're not only beautiful, sometimes with their nice stonework and the fields and all that, but a vineyard makes wine. And isn't that wonderful? They say at the fall of our first parents, they're put under that curse. They now had to work by the sweat of their brow. But they say that the Jewish belief was that to assure God's children that his blessing was still on us, he left us with grapes. Because with grapes you can make wine, and wine brings us joy. And so wine and the grapes was a sign that God's blessing was still on us. Our life ultimately is still meant to be a joy. And I remember when I was a child, my dad put in an offer on a 100-acre hobby farm, but it never went through. I was so disappointed, but I was so excited about my dad possibly buying this hobby farm. We were going to move on to a hobby farm. And I began to kind of fantasize, good kind of fantasy, fantasize about, the farm. And I would draw on a piece of paper a rectangle. That was the 100 acres, and I had it all planned out. The back was forest with trails, and there was gardens. But the main crop, up where I grew up in the valley, we don't have vineyards, or hardly any, but it was the orchards, the apple trees and all that. You drive by, you see these beautiful orchards, especially Macintosh apples. But anyways, so the farm that I dreamed about, it had orchards. The different fruit trees, and of course a nice house, a barn, and of course as a boy, the tractor and the truck and the ATV for riding around on the property, and of course the farm also had a pond with fish. So it was a sign of the image of God, because every one of us were in some mysterious way priest, prophet, and king. And the king in us needs a kingdom. And the king of us needs to have domain over something. And just as God turns chaos into order, to work the land, to be king over your domain, and to make that domain a beautiful, wonderful place that bears fruit, a little paradise. Every one of us is meant to have in a sense, be lord over a beautiful paradise. But very interesting, as a child, as I kind of fantasized about my 100-acre hobby farm, there was a sense, and it was quite clear, there was a sense, an understanding that the kingdom of God isn't just outside, the kingdom of God is within. And so when I fantasized about, being on my hobby farm, there was always a sense that within me would be virtue. I wouldn't be dragged down. I can express it now. Years later, I wouldn't have been able to express this as a child, but I wouldn't have been dragged down on my farm with the 7 deadly sins: anger, gluttony, greed, pride, lust, laziness, envy. No, the part of the kingdom, part of the paradise is within. You're a hard worker and you're disciplined, but you're also balanced. You can enjoy yourself. Like, there's the sense that within you are good, you're virtuous, you're holy. And also, again, as a child, there would have been a sense that this farm, the Lord is always welcome on my farm. The door is always open to him. As a matter of fact, it's his farm. I would never close the door to my king to come on the farm. But it's interesting, when we get older, you could use the image of children building forts. A little child, when she builds a fort, she wants her mom and dad to see the fort and to come in, maybe have tea or whatever. But notice when you get a little older, teenagers, when they build their little hideouts, they don't want mom and dad to see. Why? Maybe they're doing bad stuff. Maybe it's not a place that is necessarily all good, and we have to ask ourselves in our own lives, your kingdom, your domain, your beautiful vineyard, your world, your life, Is it a beautiful place that you're trying to turn into a paradise? And is it a place of virtue? And most importantly, is it a place where God is not only always welcome? The door is always open to Jesus, but is it a place where it's clear in your heart and mind that Jesus is the Lord of this vineyard? He is always welcome. It's his. And so I recommend this to you as a meditation today. It's good for us. You know, again, it's primal. It's within us. This mystery of being Lord. You know, it doesn't have to be a 100-acre farm. It can be a vineyard or your own little island, or you can be, you know, queen of your little castle, just like Downton Abbey or whatever else. There's something within us. We get that. But I encourage you, you know, meditate on this mystery of a beautiful, holy, virtuous life where Jesus is the Lord and King, and a life that ultimately bears good fruit.